From incredible highs to unflinching lows, this CSK team is experiencing an all-timer of a decline. Where has it all gone wrong? And how long will it be before we see the CSK of old? Join us today on the Clean Bowl podcast as we have a deep dive to explore why CSK have declined so badly and why it might continue for a little bit longer before it gets better again. All that to come on the Clean Bowl podcast. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Clean Bowl podcast with me, Sab, once again back with another video. Make sure you give this video a like, give it a share, and obviously hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all of the great content that's coming your way. Now, as you can see from the video, as we've already said in our intro, today we're going to be talking about the Chennai Super Kings. Yes, CSK, one of the great franchises in cricket history, really. Franchise cricket is a relatively new phenomenon, but CSK are probably the most iconic franchise team, if not one of them. They've won 5 IPL titles. They've won Champions Leagues. They're one of the great franchise cricket teams. They're certainly one of the best followed cricket teams around the world, not just in India. But all is not well. The 5-time champions are in a state of decline, and a real rapid decline. 2023, as we said, they were the winners, but since then it has been a steep decline from finishing just outside the playoff places in 2024 to bottom in 2025, and now already we're 3 games into this year's IPL. CSK have lost 2 out of 3, and they've been hammered in every single game. So this is a sharp decline for this once great team, and they've not just had a bad week. This has been a trend that's been going on, and look, the warning signs have been there for a while. And yeah, I'm a CSK fan, and like all the other CSK fans, this is very difficult to watch. But I bring bad news because CSK have fallen apart, but it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So today we're going to get into why CSK have fallen apart and why it's probably a little bit worse than you think it is. So stick around, guys. We're going to do a little deep dive and see where it's all gone wrong with the Chennai Super Kings. So the Chennai Super Kings are not just having a bad week. They are showing signs of a much deeper and worrying decline. Now, it's clear to see, and I don't think anyone expected this to be the case, but I think many fans may have been coming into the season thinking that this was going to be like a one. Last year was a one-season blip. They just had a string of injuries. Overseas players didn't hit the mark as they normally do. Things have just gone wrong. It's going to be fine. We're going to get an old CSK back. But that's not the case. Look, as of the 6th of April, which is the day that we're recording this, CSK have lost their first 3 games of the IPL. They're bottom of the table. Opened with a heavy defeat to the Rajasthan Royals. Then they conceded 210 at home in a loss to the Punjab Kings. And then yesterday, obliterated by the Royal Challenge Bengaluru. They smashed 250 for 3 and ended up winning with a very comfortable 43-run win. 3 losses, 3 different kinds of damage, and this team is already under pressure. These problems didn't begin yesterday. That's the thing. These have been in the works for some time. I think even when 2023 winning that competition, it wasn't the most smoothest campaign, but they're able to finish second with 17 points and were able to get over the line because that team and that era knew how to win. They had the players who knew how to win. They had winners in their team who were able to get them over the line. But I think the warning signs were there that maybe some cracks were being papered over because in 2024, the season after, they finished 5th. Now, they only missed the playoffs on net run rate, but again, that there's a little bit of drop-off when you finish second and then go to 5th. And of course, that drop became more pronounced last year when they finished bottom. So they won only 4 out of their 14 league matches last year. And look, already bottom of the table, 3 losses out of 3. it's not good. It's pretty unpleasant, and actually the defeats have got worse and worse. Even though it's three, the as I said in one of our post match videos, I think after CSK's first game against Rajasthan, this is just not a good CSK side. CSK just exists in a name right now. The current team out there is a very average team. The squad is an average squad. It pales in comparison to the other sides. A lot of the other sides, if you think CSK are normally one of the big three, along with RCB and Mumbai Indians, they are miles away from the other two. That gulf in class has never been bigger. I don't think at any point in time when CSK were the dominant side, were they miles better than Mumbai Indians? Were they miles better than RCB? I don't think the gap has been as big as it is now. So that's the biggest worry is the gulf and the gap in class between those teams has become so big in such a short space of time. And that comes down to very poor planning by CSK in terms of replacing key squad members, how they're going about things, because 2020 cricket, franchise cricket, doesn't wait around for anybody. And clearly CSK are building for the future. I think we've seen that. But in the process of doing that, they've let go of some real key players. And my God, that they've dropped. And, I think it's probably going to get a lot worse before it gets better as well. Last year in 2025, they paid the price for some outdated batting. So in terms of stats, they had the lowest run rate in the league at 8.23 last year. Now, among the 27 team totals of 200 or more in the tournament last year, CSK featured only once in the entire tournament. They were very sluggish in their power plays. They didn't capitalize on those fielding placements, inability to maximize death overs, and they were the very first team to be eliminated from any contentions for the playoffs last year. This year, look, we're only 3 games in, but I think the problem isn't necessarily that they cannot score. Against Punjab, they made 209, and they were great in the final sort of 5 overs, or sort of 6, 7, 8 overs of that last game. I think they scored about 100 in the last 8 overs. RCB scored 250 yesterday. CSK were able to actually get over 200 in response, but again, chasing such a huge score in 20 overs is always going to be difficult. So to be fair, the batting has shown a bit more life than last year, but the team is still losing. So none of this really matters. It doesn't matter if you scored 200 or anything. If you lose, you lose, and that's all that matters are the points on the board or the points not on the board. And the problem has really just become broader than one department. For me, one of the biggest reasons and the biggest weakness in the CSK team is the bowling. It's a very average bowling lineup. Yeah, okay, look, we've got Matt Henry, who leads the line for New Zealand. Jamie Overton plays for England. But you just kind of look around these bowlers, and I'm not, we can bank on him. We can rely on him. We've got a Jadeja in the team. I just look at the players that we've got. Jadeja going to Rajasthan. Deshpande going to Rajasthan. They've already picked up managed performances, especially Deshpande over the weekend with that final over that he bowled. Why is he being let go? Rachin Ravindra, why is he being let go? I know that Ashwin has retired from the IPL, but even his experience in Naus would be great. I don't know what kind of went on there, but man, they could do with Ashwin right now as well. So it's just a mess. The bowling is extremely average, and there's nobody really that you can hang your hat on. They don't control games like the way the classic old school CSK teams used to do. Punjab chased down 210 with 8 balls to spare. They were 55 without loss in just 4 overs. Rajasthan chased down 128 in the 13th over. And then, of course, as I said, RCB piled up 250 for 3 in 20 overs. And they scored 97 in the last 5 overs. So the lack of control and lack of discipline in the bowling attack, look, it comes from a lack of experience. Yes, I understand that. But there's obviously a lack of skill in this team to be able to control games consistently or in the key passages of play. And that's why they're leaking for so many runs. Tim David blasted 70 from 25 balls yesterday. If you're going to concede those sort of runs in short bursts, it means the attack doesn't have that kind of control that it needs, and whatever bowling plans they have are just being ripped apart from the off. Um, and it's the biggest problem. When I looked at the squads at the beginning of the tournament, I looked at CSK's and I just thought, look, there's buying Sanju Samson was a really really important purchase for the team. He had such a great World Cup. He has a real affinity with Chennai as a city and the South, being a South boy himself. He's clearly loved in that part of the world. So yeah, that was a huge coup. But then you lose the likes of Ravindra Jadeja. You lose the likes of Deshpande. Just two names for example. Just imagine you have those two in this team. This team is infinitely better. It already goes up a level. The bowling attack looks a lot better. Rachin Ravindra is gone. You're just losing out on these key personnel. And I get it. Look, the problem is, I think they're coming to my next point, is they're building for the future. But it's really, they're bleeding runs. And they don't have enough bandages to stop that bleeding. Yeah, very average, and it's just a way, 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 way behind all of the other batsmen, all of the other bowlers. So the third issue for me, this is a team that kind of looks that it's caught between two eras. Now you look at the squad, you look at the talent. There is still obvious talent there, and there's some recognisable names. Obviously, you got Gaikwad, who is in the he's not getting games for India at the moment, but he's in and around the setup. Sanju Samson, just spoken about him. Daryl Brevis, star for white ball South African team. Safraz Khan, as you said, Matt Henry. Rahul Chahar is one for the future. He had a great stint a little bit. He had a great stint in the county setup last year in England. They're banking on him to have another good stint this year. Spencer Johnson, Noor Ahmed, and you got Anshul Kamboj as well, who's played for India. So look, these aren't mugs or anything. These aren't complete novices of what they're doing. Khalil Ahmed as well. Look, these aren't bad players by any stretch. So you look at these names, you look at it on paper, and think, look, it's not a completely talentless squad. It's not devoid of any talent or quality. But it's the side that there's no balance to the team. It doesn't look settled. It doesn't look like we have all bases covered. Like you look at the other teams who've got maybe 2 or 3 options for each in a key position, like the all-rounders, the pinch hitters, the death bowlers. They've got people for lots of different things, and that's what healthy squads do. That comes with proper planning. It doesn't look like a settled squad. It doesn't look like a coherent machine like the old CSK were. It's still a team that's trying to figure out what it wants to be. And look, ultimately, this team is no longer just underperforming. They are trying to halt a slide whilst rebuilding the team. And it's impossible to do both at the same time. But that's what CSK are trying to do, because IPL T20 cricket doesn't stop. So it's really difficult for the team to manage the slide whilst also trying to rebuild the team. I think perhaps they're hoping that at some point things will just click and the results will turn around. A CSK team used to be built on a good mixture of proven players with experience and also a healthy exuberance of youth and excitement and clarity in who's doing what. But there are a lot of younger players coming in. They've invested heavily in the future. So established names are not getting out of opportunities as they used to. And that makes it hard. If you're trying to prepare for the future, then it makes it difficult for you to win now. And obviously that's what we live in. The society we live in now is very much instant gratification. We want to win now. This is a team that's won 5 IPL titles. CSK fans, we want to see a 6th title. Do we have the patience to wait maybe 2, 3, 4 years to see that 6th title? In that time, who knows? Mumbai may have gone to their 6th title or even a 7th, dare I say. Other teams may have be closing the gap. RCB, they're looking really strong. Could they win back-to-back titles this year? And this is the current sort of phase that CSK are in. They're lagging behind their rivals. They're lagging behind everybody because, they will tell you that they have planned. It doesn't look like they've planned, but they will tell you that they've planned for the future. So eventually they will see the guys that they've got and hope that they'll eventually come good, which they may. Look, these aren't bad players, but the players that invested in all youth, they're for the future. So they're not going to pull up any trees right now. That is what we are seeing in front of us right now. the uncertainty is a serious problem because clarity was always the bedrock in which CSK built their greatness. They had experience, but they were really sure of who they were. They knew their best 11. They trusted these methods. They were so good in the home conditions, which Chennai are trying to bank on this year. It's already got off to a terrible start. And they've just had no control in the games, which CSK used to be able to do. Last year, the top order had to be changed around so much because the key batters were misfiring. There was an underperformance, obviously, Rachin Ravindra. Now, look, I know I said, where is he? But, he was dropped because of that. Devon Conway, Shivam Dubey, Rahul Tripathi, Gaikwad's season has ended early. So it all sort of points that this team was going to be coming into a transitional period at some point. It just feels like CSK have really hit that bump in the road quicker than maybe they anticipated. When a team enters a transition, we see it in many different sports. I watch a lot of football. So when a team enters transition, I think you kind of expect that there'll be a little bit of a decline. But it very often rarely becomes a kind of, you're in transition, but you're still competing. I feel like you can't have both because with a transition can bring turbulence, it can bring chaos, it can bring uncertainty, and whole mixture of stuff that causes you to be inconsistent. And CSK, I wouldn't even describe them as inconsistent. I would love them to be inconsistent. Right now, they're just bad. Just bad. And I think teams are going to come against Chennai, wherever they're playing, home or away, and think, hey, we can beat these today. I can only speak on my low level of playing cricket. Sometimes you look at a team when they arrive and you can see the way they carry themselves, the way they train, the way they perform. You have a good idea, like, oh, I think they're going to be a hard team to face today. These look good. Or you can see them playing and you can see the way they. You look at the league table, oh, these are going to be good. Conversely, there are other teams that you might face who think, we've got a good chance of beating these today. These aren't doing very good. This team is not doing very good. CSK will fall into that category around. Whoever CSK have got next, I'm not sure who. That team is going to be thinking, we could probably win today. And if it's a team that hasn't won either or is low on points, yeah, CSK could be the antidote to their problems. Unfortunately, they've very swiftly become the worst team in the league. I hate to say that, it pains me to say that, but CSK fans, can you disagree with me? Am I telling anything wrong? CSK are the worst team in the IPL right as of this minute. I mean, they were the worst team last year. Stats and league places don't lie, especially after 14 games. Where did they finish after 14 games last year? Bottom. They're already bottom after 3 games. So, again, maybe this is a chance to, they've just said, look, we're going to not invest heavily on lots of players. We're going to see how this crop of youngsters go across this year. We're 3 games in. Let's hope it turns around and we get mid-table or something, which is good-ish, represents some kind of progress. And then we kind of have a direction and we build up on that year a bit. And then we get that settled side. This is clearly the blueprint that they're going to follow. This is clearly what they're trying to do. But CSK fans, you were going to have to put up with a lot of pain before we get some good times again, I think. It is darkest just before the dawn, to quote from one of my favorite films, Batman. They say that it's always darkest just before the dawn. So I think that's where we have to kind of put our minds right now. CSK are undoubtedly one of the most defining franchises of the IPL. They've won 5 titles, and it's such a proud team. Such an iconic fan base as well. Obviously, the famous yellow, but in Chennai as well, it's such a love for the team. So it's sad to sort of see there's a lot of pain to bear. But yeah, a lot of it is self-inflicted as well, because I get that you want to plan for the future, but some of the players that are playing for other franchises now, that are no longer playing for CSK, doesn't make any sense. I think if we looked at the Rajasthan Royals game against Gujarat on the weekend, I couldn't help feel that Deshpande, when he celebrated winning the game, there was a moment where he ran and he was beating his chest furiously and smashing the badge of Rajasthan. And I'm sure he was sending some kind of signal. It felt like a signal saying, he didn't want me, well, look where I am now. I'm doing things for Rajasthan now. I felt like there was a message in that. Some anger in there, and that's understandable anger. Why was he let go? He could have been. We could have really done with his kind of qualities right now. That control on the death overs that he demonstrated, and Ravinja Jadeja as well. Clearly been upset with the way things have gone so far. There was obviously a moment captured in one of when Rajasthan played Chennai. The CSK fans was chanting his name. It looked like he was getting a bit emotional. He has spoken about his love and his affinity towards the franchise. Once again, why on earth was he let go? I don't know. And there's very little we can do about it now, and we kind of have to hope that some point, somewhere, a turnaround comes from it. Are there any positives to take? Not really. They are scoring a bit quicker, and look, they've gone over 200 twice, which is a good sign. But I don't. I never thought the batting was much of an issue. If you look at the batsmen, they have decent batting in the team, and they've obviously got Shivam Dubé, who with the bat is a good talent with the bat. He can do some extraordinary things with the bat to get teams over the line. We've seen what he's done for India in the past, but him getting up to big totals, smashing a few sixes and fours at the end. He's really good at that. He's not a very good bowler. You've heard me say that lots on this channel, so I'm not going to dig him out today as much as I would like to. But the batting isn't much of a problem, as we've seen. It's actually pretty commendable, to be fair, that I think they were about 100 something for six they were 80 for five against RCB, and were still able to get past 200. When you're chasing 250 and you're 80 for five, the team could just capitulate, could just say, here we go, and throw in the towel, give up, and capitulate and throw it away. But they kept fighting to get past 200. The mental, effort to get past 200 is very commendable. But you're chasing too many runs. 250, not many teams ever chase that, I don't think. And it's difficult, no matter how close you come. It's hard. We saw that in the World Cup this year when England nearly chased it down, but ultimately it's just too many runs. Most of the time nobody gets anywhere close because it's just an unfathomable amount of runs to chase in just 20 overs. For me, it's the bowling. The bowling is so weak. It's clearly by far and away the weakest bowling lineup in the entire competition. And I don't even know how they sort that out because they just haven't got the squad to compete. So I don't really know how they go about this, how you change this round. You reap what you sow. You buy poor quality, you invest poorly. And I get, once again, I get it. I understand the idea. And it's a good, noble thing to do say to these guys, look, you are our guys. I hope and I imagine the messages that they're saying to the players, look, we understand it's going to be difficult, but we have every faith that you're going to bring another title to CSK. It might not be now, but it might be in 2-3 years down the line once we get it. So they might be thinking really far and ahead. But, I think a lot of fans won't have the patience to wait 2 or 3 years if they see performances like that we've seen this year and the start of last year and the start of this year. Fans won't tolerate that. If CSK finished fifth, fourth, couple of years, made it to a playoff, there'd be a bit more tolerance, I think. But it's quite painful to watch because the bowling is so average. It's difficult for any team, any of us, to watch and just kind of try to think logically or think like an owner or think like a franchise group, a leadership group. We can't think like that as fans. I guess the other point, the coaching. Stephen Fleming, look, he was a fantastic player, a fantastic leader for New Zealand. But I think there comes a time when even as a coach who's delivered so much, eventually you'll come to a time when it's time to say bye. We've seen that even with football. Sir Alex Ferguson, probably the greatest manager of the modern era. He had to go eventually. Arsene Wenger, he was at Arsenal for 20 years. Look, I know these are football managers. But that sort of philosophy is true. They were there for such a long time, and eventually everybody has a sell-by date. Everybody has a date where they have to say goodbye. And I just think maybe could this team do with some freshness? And I don't want to sit here and disrespect Stephen Fleming because he's delivered 5 titles for this team. He has been the key part of making CSK the team and the name that they are today. But I'm worried, as have we sort of reached the end of the journey? Could this team benefit from some new ideas, just a different approach, some different mentality, a different? When you look at the other coaches that are available, might this team benefit from somebody else being in the helm and just a fresh set of momentum? I don't know. I personally think it's a conversation to be had. Not now, nothing mid-season. Certainly at the end, unless CSK have committed to a plan with Fleming at the part of that plan about how they want to do things, then maybe there's no decision to make. But what if CSK finish bottom again, or even second from bottom? Doesn't really matter. But if they finish bottom again, 2 years in a row, what decision do we make then? Because CSK can't just watch as other teams kind of move up, um, and move out of their way, move out of their league. You can't watch as other teams kind of go further ahead in terms of quality. But that is a risk that CSK are taking with their planning. So the next time we see the Super Kings will be on Saturday, the 11th of April. They are at home to the Delhi Capitals. Looking at the table, Delhi have played 2 and they've won 2. So something has to give. Are they going to make it 3 out of 3? Surely CSK can't go 4 defeats in 4. I don't know. You feel like Chepak needs to be a fortress. It's not been a fortress for a long time. But they need to do something. CSK need to come up with a formula at least to win their home games, and to build up momentum that way. Personally, I don't think this team is capable of reaching the playoffs. I don't think the team is good enough to reach the playoffs. And this is the problem when you start losing. You're already on the back foot in terms of points. You're already playing catch up to the other teams. It is, yes, still very early in the competition, but you've already, when you lost 3 from 3, some teams will have, coming in this next few weeks, days, some teams have won 3 from 3. There's already a huge gap of 6-9 points getting put in place. You're already putting yourselves into a difficult position. So yeah, I don't think CSK are going to make the playoffs. To be fair, even before the tournament started, I had no hope that they were going to make the playoffs. And this has just been increased by watching this team. So look, let's see what happens, guys. CSK fans, comment in the section below, Yellow Army. What do we think? Are you guys in agreement with me? Do you guys disagree? What do you think about the team? Can we get back on track? Can we see some of the old CSK magic again? When do you think that 6th title is going to come to Chennai again? How long do we have to wait? What can be expected of this team? Yeah, I want to know all your thoughts, all your issues, all your rants, everything. Pour your heart out to me, guys. Let's get through this together. It's the only way we can do it is we get through this together. Otherwise, it's going to be a long season for us. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment below. Hit that like button. Share the video as well and make sure you subscribe. We'll be back with some more post-match videos. Obviously, we've just had Easter weekend here in the UK, so I was away, but I'm back now. More post-match videos coming your way across the IPL as we head into the 3rd week, I think. So yeah, plenty more coming. So make sure you're around to check it out. I've been Sab. This has been the Clean and Goal Podcast. I'll see you next time.